What did I just read?
Welcome, everybody, to What Did I Just Read? I'm Holly,
And I'm LA.
and may the Father bless us
Shut up.
for what we are about to say.
Amen.
We have just read Sierra Simone's Priest,
Mm-hmm.
and all I could think of was I sent you the video earlier from Sweeney Todd. Do you know that song at all?
Nope, but I
Oh,
listened
okay.
to it for the first time. After.
Okay, well, anyways, that was in my head the whole time, just priest, have a little priest. Every time I would think about this book, that's all I thought about until I did not.
Mm-hmm. So this is marketed as a taboo romance, right? And
Mhm, yeah.
surely this is not a new taboo, like a new, what am I trying to say? This isn't a romance that we've read that is our first time experiencing a taboo romance because I don't know if we've talked about them on the pod, but like relationships between teacher and student or
I have not read one
Credence.
of those. Credence
Have you
I
not?
have. I'm not teacher student, probably because I
Mhm.
am a teacher, and that's just a step too far for me.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, but, like, Credence, I read Haunting and Hunting Adeline, um,
So I haven't read that one.
Corrupt,
Credence is
Penelope
yeah,
Douglas Corrupt. Well, that's not taboo.
mm, yeah, maybe Credence
It's
was
like
step
bully.
siblings and step uncle.
No, uh, yeah,
No, yeah,
yeah,
step
step
siblings. Yeah,
cousins. The brothers are step cousins to the girl,
right.
but they all be banging,
They all be banging. Right. But I
including the
think
step uncle. Anyway, beside the
uh,
point. I
this
read The Ritual. Have you read The Ritual? Ritual?
no. No.
Oh. Oh.
These are pretty dark.
Yeah. So this is a different one for me in that it covers a priest, Father
Mhm.
Tyler Bell. And I was really conflicted throughout this whole book. I'm gonna be honest, I had a hard time enjoying it because of the whole Catholicism vibe. Because I just don't be vibing. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't hide it. Like I grew up Catholic. My family's Catholic. I did like catechism my whole life, you know, and I realized young that this is not for me. I always questioned it in my head, even though as a kid, I always was like, put my head down and I just did what I was told until there was this moment when one of our catechism teachers, she had opened up to all of us and told us that her son had, this is actually a really sad, triggering story, which also is similar story in the book, that her son had committed suicide and she could not imagine him in hell. And I think it's well known in Catholicism, if you commit suicide, that's where you go. And that's when I had this aha moment that I don't have to accept all of these beliefs. I can make my own choices in what I believe. And it's upsetting that it took such a tragic story in that sense to kind of give me that aha moment, but it's what made me realize I don't have to believe everything that these people are telling me. That doesn't have to be my belief that God hates everything that I do and I have to do it in like this one particular way to be the right way. And I think with Catholicism, I spent a lot of time feeling guilty about things and thinking that God doesn't love me because I'm doing something that I really shouldn't be. And it took a lot of learning and self-reflection to think, no, I'm happy in what I'm doing. I'm proud of my choices and I can move on.
Yeah, when I think that's the underlying lying theme or message in this book is that sex is okay and love is okay. Maybe it might not be right in some structural things like that we have set up, but it's still okay. Sarah Simone, when she talked about this book. She actually was promoting a different book with her and Julie Murphy, but I got to listen to her talk a little bit about this series. And she was talking about how she grew up in the faith. I think it was Catholicism,
Yeah,
but
she grew up Catholic.
yeah, in Texas. And she was talking about, I remember when they were explaining purity to us, and they were like, when she was in high school, and we used to do Sunday mass, and then we would have like RC or something afterwards. And so we'd spend like an hour talking about like the message, but with other high schoolers, I guess. And she's like, we got together and they took a piece of tape and they would pass around and they would stick the tape on each one and then stick it on the next person, stick it on the next person. They said at
Oh,
the
I
end of it,
already hate where this is
mhm,
going.
yeah, and
I
then yeah, and they talked about how you don't want to give that to your husband, like, all you I
Mm.
know, and she said that was her big kind of message, like, "What? Like, this doesn't totally make sense," but then Julie Murphy was like, "I had the same experience, but we spat in a cup of water," and so at the end of it, that's like I know, it's, like, very
Oh my
disgusting
god.
connotations to love and sex, and it's just you can really see that in this book, I think. I think that that's very evident about fighting against that and that
Yeah,
idea and that
and
thought, yeah.
I don't think I was prepared to have that emotional of a response to this book. I kind of thought going into this book, it was going to be a silly,
Mhm.
ridiculous, honestly, this is going to sound awful, but like not well written taboo romance.
Yeah,
That's what I was prepared to go into. I was not prepared to go into something so well written, something that was going to give me so many emotional moments.
yeah, it's the exact same. I mean, I heard her talk, so I knew it was gonna be pretty heavy and not I mean, there was some ridiculous stuff,
Oh,
like, in
yeah.
this book. I c
Yeah,
I
Little
just
Lamb.
Little Lamb to reciting
Mm, mm-mm.
verses, talking in Latin, the altar scene, the oils,
But oh,
everybody talks about the altar
him
scene.
him consecrating her. Yeah.
This book, though, is filthy. I mean, it is
Honestly, LA, this is one of the raunchiest, filthiest books I've
yep,
read in a long time.
yeah,
I did not realize that I had been reading so many rom-coms until I picked this book up. And I was like, "Whoa, oh
mhm,
my goodness." I
mhm.
felt like a little lady coming out of church and just, I was
Clutching
like,
your pearls.
"This is fornication."
I think after the 8th sex scene, I was like, "I can't keep track of them anymore."
But I was just like, "More, more, more."
I mean, even the epilogue with their wedding scene in
I
Poppy's perspective, I was like, "What?"
get it, get it. Oh my
Mhm.
god. So good. So
And I
hot.
speaking of Poppy, I really liked also another message in here is which I think is interesting that we're doing kind of, the milking farm right before this book, is that they wrote so Sierra Simone and I think it's Julia Murphy, they wrote a book where the main star is a porn star, and it was the Christmas one, I can't remember the title of it, but they advocate for sex work. So I like how Poppy was in a position as a sex worker, if you will, like she is a
A stripper.
stripper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but she's going against the grain. I think what's interesting is that I think a lot of people assume that people that get into sex work, that there are really terrible reasons for why they do so. But she's a Dartmouth graduate, like comes
Not
from
just
this
a
like
Dartmouth graduate, but she has her MBA from Dartmouth as
yeah,
well. She has
and she's
undergrad
CPA
and the
certified.
MBA. She's CPA certified. So she's a
She's
very
great. She's
intelligent
amazing.
woman, and she knows what she likes, and she liked people watching her, and she got off on that. And
Mhm.
what I really liked is that she was comfortable with that fact,
Yep.
and she wasn't ashamed of it. Well, she sort of was, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But she didn't have an associated trauma for being in more of a, I guess, as we'll learn with her sex, what she likes is rough.
She likes to be
Um,
submissive, yeah.
yeah, but it's not because it's just her sexual preference, which I think was
Yeah.
also, yeah,
And she
was
like
built
and I
in.
like that she made a delineation of, like, this is what we are like in our bedroom, which I like and I love. I'm submissive, you're dominant, and then out of the bedroom, we are a loving and, like, adoring couple.
Mhm.
You know? And what
Yeah.
I found I feel like I also found this new kink where 2 people come together and their kinks just match up so well. They just match up with each other because Father Tyler Bell is very dominant and likes to have the rough sex and call you filthy names, and Poppy Danforth, is very submissive and is there for all of it
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
encourages him to be that way
Mhm.
with her. Oh,
Mhm.
loved it. There was no, like, her being, like, some weak, innocent girl discovering that she likes that, you know, and her going through the stages of, like, "Does this make me an awful person or disgusting person?" No. She's like, "This is what I like, call me the names.
Mhm.
Are you don't" and she tells him one time, "Don't be a good boy now." I was like, "Yes, I
Yeah,
loved it."
don't hold back.
Don't hold back. I loved it. I love that confidence of, "This is what I like, do what I like."
Mhm. Yep. And then yet he's so helpful and caring, compassionate about his community and is about his parishioners and just such a nice guy, not like Sterling, who's this power hungry, crazy guy on the outside. And, well, not
Yeah,
on the outside,
and
but out of bed and
I think Sierra did a really good job of highlighting the differences of Sterling's I don't quote unquote of being a dominant, where he was the same person, right? Calling her a whore, but meaning it in the bedroom, right? And
yeah.
outside, that's who she was. Like he was the same person and he meant what he was saying.
Sorry. So we're on to Sterling, which we haven't really told you guys how we got to Sterling. What's happening with Poppy and Tyler? How does Sterling get involved? How does everybody find out? What happens?
First off, this book is different than pretty much any romance that I've ever read because it is strictly from the hero's POV.
Mhm.
It is only from Father Tyler's point of view. And we only get Poppy's point of view 3 times throughout the whole book, and that's her doing her 2 confessions, we get her point of view, and then the 3rd one is just some random point of view for the epilogue, right?
Yeah. Thought it
Yeah.
was 3 confessions, but yeah.
Oh, is
So,
it? Yeah,
yeah, you get
yeah.
a handful, but I think that was pretty ingenious how she got her perspective in there.
Yeah, did you miss Poppy's perspective at all?
No.
No. I think it might have ruined a lot of things, or I think it would have been too much guilt.
Maybe, yeah. I think it played so well into the miscommunication that they had a few times, especially at the end, because I was like, and also, like,
I mean,
again,
the end I have
we're
a
not
little bit of
there.
issues with. Yeah, no, but
Yeah, I have issues with the ending too, but exactly 7 months later, like, I'm like, "Is there a baby? Is this a baby trope? Is this" like, it's just kind of,
oh, I wasn't thinking it was a baby trope, but yeah, easily could have been.
yeah, it just seemed, I don't know, and then I also had the issue, I just have lots of issues with the ending, but I bought into the miscommunication. I totally was, like, understanding because I was in Tyler's shoes the entire time.
Yeah,
I think that if I heard Poppy's side of it, I would be frustrated because 'cause I'm like,
yeah, I think I would have thrown the book against the wall had I
yeah.
had Poppy's point of view, I think. It would have been too
Yeah,
much.
she was a little she's gonna get me annoyed
Really?
a
I
little
don't
bit.
think so. See, Tyler freaking annoyed me. Just the circles that
Mhm,
he would go in, so many.
mhm,
Just so irritating. Like, pick a team, pick a side, and let's go. You can't have it both ways, clearly.
yeah. No, but I liked that because that's what you, as a human, you go back and forth. You're not like Poppy was always decisive. She's always like, "This is" so I thought, right? Like, she was just like,
But see, I didn't get that. I didn't think she was.
I thought she was. Yeah. I thought she was pretty decisive. Like, she knew what she wanted, which was with Tyler, and she was, like, kind of like, "Okay, this is as far as accommodating towards him. Like, this is as far as I can take it with you right now."
Really?
I thought so. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
Okay.
well, I don't know. It's different. I think we both got different vibes.
Interesting. Okay, let's
Yeah.
talk about it.
Okay.
Let's get there. We keep
Yeah.
jumping.
I
Okay.
know, because we're excited. So, the beginning of the book, we have Father Tyler in the confessional, and it's this big giant booth that he hates because it's very ornate. It's very old school Catholic, where he's sitting on one side and there's a partition, and the confessor's on the other side. And in walks Puppy Danforth.
Now Tyler is 29, and for a priest, that is incredibly young. Usually, I think stereotypically, the priests are old.
None of my priests were
Um,
29, I'll tell you that.
no, neither were
I'll
one of
tell you
mine.
that.
They were still in seminary. They won't let him out into the wild, probably for these reasons, because Tyler was extremely good looking. I thought it was interesting how he ended up becoming a priest, which was his sister was abused by their church priest, and she ended up committing suicide because of that trauma. You kind of mentioned that earlier. But instead of rejecting the faith and saying this is awful, and I think what most people would have done, which is
Yeah.
this is an
Well, it's what
institution that's
also his
corrupt and
family did as well. They left.
yeah, no,
He
Tyler ran
he turns to
into the
it.
fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he wants to make a difference. He
He
wants to
wants to
show the world.
change it from within.
Yeah,
That's his ultimate goal. Not only that, but change it from within the church that he went to and she was abused in,
yeah.
which
Oh,
woof. Whoa.
that's really heavy. Yeah.
That's so heavy.
But for 3 years, he's been building programs, he's been doing a breakfast thing, he's gotten the parish up in their numbers, and he feels like he's in a really good
You
spot.
know those numbers are because of good-looking Father Bell,
Hell yeah.
right?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh my
Yes, yes.
god. Oh my god. Praise be.
So in walks Poppy,
In walks Poppy.
who never wears underwear in this book, ever.
No, never. Ew, gross underwear. But
So
in this
weird.
one, in this scene, she probably is. Who knows? Who's to say? But she's basically like came into the confessional. I'm not Catholic, but I need to unload some stuff and I'm just seeking I don't what would you say?
It was very gray.
Yeah, very gray. I it's just she's a person searching for reaching. I don't know, not forgiveness, but for purpose.
Understanding yeah, purpose, but also understanding the way in which that she feels, where everybody thinks what she feels might be wrong, but she doesn't find any sort of wrongness in it. So
And so she thinks, let's go to confession at a Catholic church. This is the
well,
move I want to make.
she lives right across the street.
Yeah, I
It's like
mean,
free therapy.
oh, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be my first choice, I mean. Nope. Well, I just like that when she first gets in the confessional, she just thinks, ugh, I shouldn't have come. This is stupid. I have no idea what I'm doing. And then he's very patient with her and he walks her through the steps of what to do. And the whole time he's also thinking, oh my God, her voice is so hot.
And then not to fast forward too much, but they have a couple of run-ins. I mean, you're also learning more about Father Tyler Bell's life. Like it's pretty average. He goes to the local coffee shop, he drinks, he watches TV, he has an iPhone, he goes
He
out for
loves The
runs,
Walking Dead. Oh my gosh.
loves The Walking Dead.
Like on
And he keeps
the Tumblr sites for Walking Dead,
yeah,
the Reddit sites for Walking Dead.
yeah. And I liked how the author did that because it's painting more of a
Him as a real
humanistic
person. Yeah. And not just
yeah,
like a real person, but a young person.
yeah.
Yeah.
Him yeah. So they bump into each other when they're running. He's running without his
Shirtless.
t-shirt on.
And she's just in a
Ugh.
sports. I mean, of this part is just like a priest running without his t-shirt on. Bold move. Bold move. Not that I'm expecting to be in full collar going for a jog, but sans t-shirt. I mean, I guess Jesus is up on that cross without a t-shirt, so he can run without one, but I mean,
Oh my god, it was just it's so funny.
But I also love that scene because they both see each other checking each other out.
Mhm.
He
Well,
realizes, "Oh, this is kind of mutual."
what I got from that scene was he was listening to Britney Spears,
Mhm,
which is a stereotypical thing to do if you were a gay man, right? So
mhm.
I thought Sarah Simone would spin this of she was gonna get close to Father Tyler thinking that he wasn't, like, sexually attracted to her,
Mm.
and then it revealed that wasn't the case, but I was wrong on that, which I'm so glad she didn't do
Yeah,
that right.
I think that would've covered that because 'cause we're already tackling priests molesting children,
Mhm.
right? And I think that would've been too many layers of things to dig through.
Yep,
Right? Not that Sierra Simone hides from the awful things in the Catholic Church, but I think that would have been a step too far.
agreed.
Another hole to dig yourself out of in this book that's already I would never tackle this topic ever as an author. So,
Kudos.
yeah,
So her next confession, just to jump to it, that's when she introduced Sterling and what that meant to Poppy. This is her first everything, her first kiss, the first whatever she was
first
going to.
orgasm. She thought she was
Yeah.
going to marry Sterling.
Yeah, and
And
lo and behold, he was
she
cheating on her
gets
the entire
dumped
time.
well, she gets dumped by him via
Mm,
wedding
wedding
invitation.
invite.
Awful. And so she brings him to the back room and she ends up fucking him. And she comes
Ugh,
twice.
ugh.
And she's
Yep.
so ashamed of that, that she let him do that. And then to find out that he had been looking for her because he wants her to
Mhm.
be his mistress.
Yeah. So then this comes back time and time again throughout the story in different ways, jealousy slash envy, which she explains later, and then about, and it becomes pivotal, I think, like in the miscommunication part of this. But he he listens to her the whole time, and she gets very sexual about it,
Yeah.
and he reacts.
I mean, he has a constant boner around her.
He's like, "I was so fucking hard, I couldn't think straight." It's just like, I mean, could you imagine sitting like, being celibate for 3 years, sitting next to a person that you know is beautiful because you've seen them outside the confessional now,
Yeah.
and they're talking about all of their in full detail about their sexual experiences.
Not only that, it's the first person that you've been sexually attracted to in 3 years.
Mhm. Yeah.
Torture. And
Yep.
And then is this when he goes down on her? Yeah,
Yeah,
so
go for it.
she decides like, "Oh god, I need to go." And he doesn't let her leave this time. He runs out of his side and cages her in.
Mhm. Mhm. And this is the eating out scene.
Ye
So
And she ends up backing up to the piano,
piano.
and he tells her to turn around.
She's wearing a
And
pencil skirt, and
and
she
she
bends over,
does,
and the slit goes, and you can see her. Yeah,
and she's
mhm.
not wearing any underwear. This is the first scene of her not wearing underwear.
And she's never been eaten out before. This is her first
Never!
time.
And this is also the first time where he calls her lamb and little lamb, right?
Yeah. Can
How
I
does
tell
he
you? Yeah, so how did I feel about that? So
Mhm.
there's a book by Emily McIntyre called Crossed, which I told you about. It's like the
Uh-huh.
4th or 5th book in the series, and it takes Disney villains, makes them, like, contemporary, and then does a romance in it, right? So
Yeah.
in Crossed, it's on The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and you have Esmeralda, and then you have the priest or whatever. So it's a
Okay.
priest, like,
Uh-huh.
stripper romance.
Right.
And he calls her Lamb and that one as well. And so
Okay.
I'm like, did Emily like read this and pull some of the stuff? I felt
Mm.
very similar. So I
Yeah.
wasn't shocked when I first read it because I was like, I've read this before. Maybe
Yeah.
this is part of the whole priest kink that they call them lambs or whatever. But no, when I read it in Crossed, I was like, "Ugh,
I did
I
not
don't like it."
like it in this book.
Mhm.
And no. 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 Because um, 'cause, there's just so many reasons why. It 'Cause he's like the shepherd, right? Leading people to the church and to the way of God and to godly thinking. I don't know what else to say. I just did not like it. I didn't like it.
Yep, not a fan. But then he comes, which I thought it would end there. I thought this would be a very slow progression. Nope.
What do you mean slow progression? You thought it would just end with him eating her out?
And then him be like, immediate Catholic guilt. Like, "Oh my god, what did
Oh,
I
him, like,
do?"
shutting it down? No,
Mhm.
and she was just like, "Absolutely not. You don't get to, like, we're doing you too." And
Yeah.
that is when I loved Poppy Danvers.
Yeah.
I
Same.
was
I w
there for her.
Yeah, she's like, "I have to see you come, I need it," she told me hoarsely. And she's like, "Don't hold back, give it to me, give every
Oh,
drop."
yeah, and then he
Mhm.
comes and she swipes her finger in it and
Fingers.
licks it.
Licks it. Yeah.
That was so fucking hot. I
It was
like,
so good.
it was so good.
I loved it. I loved it. And I love to so we see I don't know if he does it at the end of this scene. Yeah, maybe not. So, Poppy and I didn't say goodbye. Instead, we looked at each other, rumpled and damn speaking of sex, and then she left without another word. So I guess he doesn't do it in the scene, but I really appreciate how he cleans her up afterwards, or at least he
'Cause
starts
he's
to.
such a good dom. That's why. The aftercare in this book is spectacular.
He gets her a award. Like, it's not in this
He
scene.
takes
I'm kind
care
of
of her.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not in this scene because he got
No.
himself all messy. He's all, like, beta feminist, just, like, he's always worried, making sure that he's not taking over any situation and making sure that she has agency. I love that
Mhm.
too. I'm
Oh,
always
I
thinking
loved
about that.
his internal thoughts about, like, trying to be, like, a good feminist, Tyler, but, like, fuck that sometimes.
Yeah.
The inner dialogue is funny at times. It's not overly done. I think we read a book recently, I can't remember, where it was just every other thing was zingy, funny, stupid, silly, whatever. In this
Yeah.
book, it was, like, perfectly seasoned throughout that it would.
With the humor?
Mhm.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I was going to disagree with, like, the inner dialogue being a little heavy-handed with the circling of guilt.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got so annoyed with his guilt of having sex with Poppy and not making a choice. Just constant.
I thought you'd be upset because there was a book recently that you read that they had oral sex, but they were
Oh,
still
no,
saying that
that's
they did
coming.
have.
That's
Oh, is
coming
it?
because
Okay.
he
Okay.
hasn't talked about it yet.
Yet. Well,
Mhm.
let's jump to it because you
Yeah.
get introduced to Millie, which I think everybody should have a Millie in their life, which
Millie
is
is
an older woman.
fantastic.
She's amazing.
She basically
Um,
does the books and takes care of him. She brings him casseroles.
yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Millie is the
Um,
little old lady in every Catholic church who knows what's going on, what's happening in everybody's business. You know, there's a Millie in every single church.
mhm.
Doesn't matter what denomination you are. There is a
Yep.
Millie.
And she just you just know that she just is gonna know everything and that she's
Mhm.
a person that hopefully he's gonna confide in, and he eventually does. But so am I wrong in stating the second scene is when she comes kinda soaking wet with a bottle of Macallan's late at night to have a drink? Is that when the next scene happens? And that's the kitchen scene with the half in, half out? Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, can we
yeah.
just go there? Okay.
Let's go there. Yeah.
There
So it
probably I just wanna preface, there are probably 5 to 6 other sex scenes that happen in between these big sex scenes that we're talking about because literally every 20 pages is a sex scene. So,
and
don't
in
come
between
fresh
those pages, it's a bunch of guilt.
and a bunch of masturbating. So she's masturbating all the time, he's masturbating all the time. There's just so much jizz. Anyways, but we're talking about this scene
Uh-huh.
where
Yeah.
they come together. She came to him without underwear or a bra on.
Yeah, and it's been pouring rain, and she's in a Walking Dead t-shirt. Like,
Mhm,
I mean, quite literally his wet dream.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
It's up
The
with the McCallum, and they have a little drink,
mhm.
and then they start making out. And he is, like, excited to see her boobies. And in this scene, he decides that they both decide in a lie that this is their one night, that they are going to have sex and this'll be it. Everything after
Right.
this, celibacy, right?
Right.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
Let's just lie to ourselves.
Whatever.
And so he decides that he is just gonna put the tip in. That's all that he's going to do. He just needs to feel inside of her. Just just his tip, LA.
Yeah. Literally,
And the
I wanna be inside you. I said just a little just to feel it. Oh god, please. It's all I've thought about since we've met. You have to hold really, really still. I warn her. Will you behave?
oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't. And then I mean, and it doesn't take much. I think, like, she, like, freaking just spasms around his dick and he comes.
Mhm. This
And
is when he starts calling her names too. So he starts being a little bit derogatory, calling her a slut and calling her a filthy girl and
oh, and this is also the moment where he's kissing her, but she's not kissing him back.
yeah.
And he asks her, "Do I need to take this from you?" And she's like, "Mhm." I was, like, out fanning myself. I was like, "This is so good. This is so good."
So, so good.
'Cause it's always the checking in and then responding, right?
Mhm.
Oh, I loved it. It's so good. 'Cause, I mean, with in, like, the dom and submissive relationship, it's always setting the rules, setting the tone, right? And the checking in with each
Mhm.
other, and they do that in this book. It's properly done.
Mm.
And I think in a lot of these books, not the case, you know?
Yeah, like it's too much
Well,
or not done at all.
it's yeah, it's not done at all. Like this book, they have the checking in, the rules and her letting him know, like, "I will let you know if I've had enough or if it's too rough, it's too hard, if you're hurting me, and I trust you to stop." Right?
Mhm. Yep.
And I really appreciated that in this book because a lot of times it's just the guy going too rough and she realizing, "Oh my god, I love this." And there's none of that.
I agree.
Anyways, what were we
But
talking
then your favorite well, then your favorite line comes where they finish up and then it says, "It was Monday, 2 days post not really sex."
It's sex. You had sex with her the time before in the church when you ate her the fuck out, and then she rubbed
Mhm.
her vagina
Mhm.
all over you and you came. That was sex. Also, you sticking your tip into her vagina is sex. That is
Mhm.
sex.
Mhm. Yep. So then for
And
2
they both were
chapters,
sex.
they try. She comes to mass, they go and do the kitchen thing. Millie is
Yeah,
kind
she
of
has a
like
meeting with Millie, and Millie kinda tells him, like, "Hey, Bear, you need to be
mhm,
cautious." And he's like,
mhm,
"Yeah, totes."
whatever. And then chapter 11, the altar scene.
Did
So
you
he
find
like
Jesus? Did you find Jesus in this scene?
this was so beautiful and erotic and like
It was it was touching and amazing.
yeah.
I
So
loved
how
it.
do I did too, but how do you describe it? I mean, it was like so when we say an altar scene and also when you text me, you're like, "I'm at the altar scene." I was like, "Okay, whatever." Like, of course they're gonna do sex on the altar because that's the
Yeah.
most, like, sacrilege thing you could possibly do. But the way in which Sierra Simone does this, it's intimate, it's beautiful, it's
It's t
spiritual.
it's 2 people literally coming together, and I don't mean just, like, orgasming together, like, coming together, like
Yes.
and he basically says is it in this scene that he says, "This is like a marriage. This is what a marriage
Mhm,
is." It's
mhm.
and is this when he's starting to also realize that he's, like, falling in love with her
He's in love
too?
with her. Mhm. Yeah. He walks in and Poppy is crying at the church because she's feeling this moment,
This whole
with
spiritual moment,
God.
it's a beautiful moment in a church. I think a lot of people have been in a church when the sun is hitting it right, you get the stained glasses dancing around, and you have this awesome spiritual moment, and she's
Yeah.
having that, and he walks in with her having that and realizes right away that there is God in this room.
Yeah.
And he goes in and he just hugs her from behind and she leans into it. And that was the moment where I was like, "We're gonna be together forever."
So she says, "It's beautiful." And she says, "Do you feel it too?" He says, "Yes." And she's like, "Is this always like this for you?" And she's like, "Once a week, maybe sometimes twice." And then she says, "It's beautiful." And he says, "You're beautiful." It's like this whole cute, like, moment. Yeah. And then they
I and just the use of the things, like the rope that's supposed to signify his chastity, his celibacy that he uses
Mhm,
to tie her up.
mhm,
And then he also decides that since this is going to be the one and only time that he has sex once again, he's going to be completely naked because he likes to
mhm.
keep some of his clothes on as a dominance role for him. But this time he wants to feel everything, so he takes off all of his clothes.
And he is hung like a home. So, yeah, so they have this so how in the world are they gonna go back to
Um, you can't anymore. I like this in the book. There wasn't any of him trying to decide or decipher if he loved her or not. He was very, "I'm falling in love with her. This is love. This is what this is."
Mhm,
And I love that he was so certain in his feelings for her and that we weren't getting lost in that little thought bubble mess, right? The mess was her versus the church, and I
mhm.
liked that.
True, true. Um, so here is chapter 13. Again, this is the sorry, it's like I went into the sacristy and came out with a small rectangle of white cloth and a purifier. So you so whatever sorry, you're
Oh
I'm
my god, I forgot
dying.
about that part.
So whenever you go and accept the blood or body of Christ, the blood of Christ, they wipe the side of the Eucharist so that you can take it and the next person goes and takes it. So that little wipe, he
The white
goes
cloth, he goes and
the wipe
gets it, and he wipes her down with it, he cleans her up with it. I wanted to vomit in my mouth.
right?
Gross.
I love there are so many parts in this that he takes very religious items, like or sorry, the author takes very religious items and
And turns them on their
flips it
head.
up. It's just
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, if these churchgoers knew what was happening.
oh, man. It
Scandal.
was so good. And then from then, he basically kinda lives inside her. I do wanna,
Lives
I think that
inside her.
there's pretty much.
It's a lot of going back and forth to their places. They're kind of doing, like, the domestic thing. They're
Mhm.
boyfriend, girlfriend.
They're dating. She even brings it up to him, like, when he comes over to her house, she
Mhm.
has to tell him that she's dating. This is after the oil and ass scene, but she makes that
Which
comment.
we need
She's
to
like,
talk about that.
"Should we talk about that scene?" Okay.
Yeah, when does that come up? Oh, so they planned a date. He says, "I wanna see you again." And she says, "I'm not free until Thursday."
Oh,
And
and they do the sexting. Sorry, they had
yeah,
that too, and he just could not wait for her. I think he grabs her, like, when he sees her next, takes
yeah.
her to his office.
Mhm.
You wanna talk about it?
And they start banging it out, and then he's like, "I wanna take this. I wanna fuck your ass." And she's like, "Hell yeah." They don't have any lube, but what they do have what do they
Oh,
have, LA?
yeah, like, you have, like, the anointment for the scent.
Anointment oil. That's he's like, "Stay right where you are." And she's on all fours in his office, and he goes into the room where the oils are, and he brings it, and he's describing what this oil is for, that he basically baptizes children with this oil. And he's like, "You know what I'm doing? I'm anointing you. I'm blessing your asshole, basically, before I come inside." Oh my god.
Ooh.
Scandalous. That part also just like, gave me the giggles. I, like, couldn't believe it. I was so scandalized by it, but also what it's also interesting to me to also think about the things that we put importance on.
Mhm,
Right? This whole book really made me think about that. The things that we put importance on, like the oil that he uses to baptize children that's blessed by a bishop, the ropes that he ties against her wrists that symbolize like his celibacy, the whole altar that they're fucking on in a church that's supposed to be like a religious sanctuary, the importance that us as humans put on these inanimate objects.
mhm. Constructs. Mhm.
Yeah. And I loved reading Sierra Simone play with that.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Same. You perfectly said exactly what I thought. So, yes.
And then I also liked that, like, he doesn't just go straight into her asshole. Because I feel like when I do read about people ass fucking in books, it's just a dick straight in the hole.
She
And that is
told
like
him that she told him, she's like, "I've done this before, but not with someone as large as you, Tyler."
and he was just like, "Fuck yeah, I'm the biggest you've ever had." But I also love that because, like, you have to you have to work up to the dick. You can't just, like, stick the dick straight in. And again, Sierra Simone works up to that. He, like, uses his finger to, like, stretch things out before he, like, enters in.
Mm,
It's little things like that, LA, that I really appreciated about this book. Mhm.
yep. Mhm, mhm,
Yeah,
mhm. Okay.
yeah. Mhm.
Show, as you said earlier, something has shifted. He knows now at this point that he's in love with her. I think he goes and visits Jordan, who is somebody that he went to seminary school with, who's also a priest, but in downtown Kansas City.
Yeah.
And so in my head, when this scene came up, he needs a confessor. So every priest does do their confessions, but do it to like another either priest or bishop or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, and I thought that this priest would be in the next book because this is a series.
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh, I'm going to like this Jordan guy or whatever. But I think now that I just finished this book. So now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I think it's just her kind of evidence that not all young priests are suffering or going through what Tyler's going through,
Yeah,
that
going through
there's
the throes of sexual reawakening. Yeah.
yeah, there's actual priests that hear God and that are very in tuned. And I think that was really evident with Jordan. Like he was just a quiet guy or whatever. And he's like,
Right.
I'm not gonna hear your confession, Tyler. Come back. Because
Yeah.
you're not
So
ready.
I'm hearing everything you're saying, but
Yep, yep, yep.
also I really need Jordan to have his own sexual awakening.
I
I
don't
need
you know,
a book for Jordan. I
I
need a
don't
kinky
think
ass book for Jordan. I know Sinner is all about is it Sean, his brother? I know that's the next
so.
one. But I want one for Jordan.
I thought Saint was the next one. I guess it's Sinner.
I think Sinner is the next one.
Yeah, you're right. Sean and Zenny is a nun.
Yeah.
And then this one, which I'm dying for, it's a male romance.
Oh, that's his other
And
brother, right? Saint?
that's his other Aiden and Elijah, and
Ooh,
one's a monk.
don't
So
see him. Huh.
I know. But she does have a novella, so we could be wrong here. She has that novella called Midnight Mass, a
That's
priest
it's
novella.
that's for Priest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, then I support you. We want one with Jordan.
I want Jordan.
But she's not, because that's like her
Uh,
whole thing
I
is
know. There needs to be one straight up priest in this book, but does it have to be Jordan? Can it be the
Mhm.
bishop, the old bishop? No.
No. No,
Why do we
it's
have to
Jordan.
sacrifice Jordan?
Stop it. He's a priest.
I want him to find his god in a pussy. That's all I want.
I don't think he wants a pussy.
Jordan?
No, I
Well,
don't
in
think
a dick.
so.
Whatever.
But
He can ride that magic stick. I don't care. I just want Father Jordan to get his.
my God. I think he finds his marriage with God satisfying.
Fulfilling. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm, mhm.
To each their own.
Okay. So, I think for we're about 3/4 of the way through the book, and I don't wanna skip around because there are a lot of, like, inner turmoil scenes, some guilt scenes, going back and forth, what's gonna happen with his livelihood and what he's gonna do and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Can we introduce Sterling and coming into the church?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So Sterling does come to a mass. He doesn't put together until probably a few minutes into their conversation that it is who he thinks it is.
Mhm.
And Sterling comes off as not like super villainous in my opinion, but also your normal power hungry like douche, but
Yeah.
he just knows what he wants. He's not trying to be, I think, like an asshole, but yet
He just
that's just how he
is an
is.
asshole. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
And
one
so
of
he
those
after
guys where he's a douche, but he's your douche. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So not I don't know, not super hatefully, but anyways, he basically blackmails Tyler and says, "I've been having Poppy she's been followed and surveillanced, and we have pictures of you going over to her house and kissing her."
Yeah.
And Tyler freaks out for a bit.
Well, he freaks out, but then also he thinks you're stalking her. And I love that that is where his brain went. That
Mhm,
was the first thing was protective mode over Poppy.
mhm. Then it becomes a battle between the 2, like, who's gonna win her
Yeah.
over. And then Tyler's insecurity comes out, like, why would a girl like her go after whatever, all this other
Yeah. Where
craziness.
she's told him several times now, really, that she loves him.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah, pretty much. I think she goes and that's when the date scene happens where she takes him to her workplace, right?
Yeah.
I
So
think
this
maybe
whole
it came
time she's
before
been no, it was definitely after
and
Sterling.
after? Okay.
Yeah, because he also sends a picture of her in the car with him.
Oh, yeah,
And
you're right. No, that happens before. You're right.
yeah,
Tyler loses it, I think, a little
yeah,
bit, calls her, she's not responding, she's not messaging
taking it, yeah.
back, and he had come over to her house and was, like, trying to find her, she wasn't there. She had apparently gone with Sterling. And this is what's weird. Went to the hotel, fell asleep on the couch.
Yeah.
What?
What?
And then doesn't do anything with Sterling, but then
Has
he
his
and then
drive her back. And then
yeah.
the whole time Tyler's, like, going cuckoo banana pants, like, drinking himself silly and working out at the same time. I mean, how? First of all. Whenever I'm drunk, I'm just like, a push-up? Like, no, I'm just gonna end up flat on my face. Absolutely not. But he's just, like, pumping, pumping, pumping. How?
So he's in this weird drunken state. She comes over and finds him in the basement while he's pumping iron and whatever. And we have a weird sexual encounter, I guess.
Yeah, because he wants to punish her, so he starts fucking her, and then he stops because he's out of control, "I can't do it right now." And then he starts
Yeah.
to jerk off
Yeah. And
as
she's
her
upset.
punishment. Yeah,
Yeah. She's dripping and she's just, I'm going to take this from you.
it was weird.
It was odd. So then she kind of switch roles for a second and is like, "You're going into the shower." And so she goes and
Yeah,
showers him, puts him to bed, takes care of him.
yeah,
And then that's when the date scene happens where she's just like, "Okay, I need to show him my cards and tell him what happened and what I want," which is not Sterling, it's actually you.
you. Yeah.
So, yeah, and I thought we went so long without her workplace. I think I didn't think we were gonna get it. I thought it
I
was
didn't
just
think
gonna
so
be
either. To be clear, like, her workplace is still that strip club. She doesn't strip there anymore. She does, like, all the finances for it because I'm sure that strip club owner realized what he had was an MBA grad student, and he was like, "Oh, well, okay, you do this for me now."
You do my
Um,
books.
yeah, and so she does that from home, and every once in a while, she has to go into the office, and now she's going to take him in to work, and she has a
Yeah.
room, and she's going to finally dance for him.
I don't like the blue wig that she adorned with the nude or champagne. I
Really?
didn't like it.
I loved it because it's
Oh.
setting a tone,
Yeah. I liked the heels.
and also it's not stuff that she's gonna keep on.
I just thought it
Like,
was
because
a
'cause
little kitschy.
you're playing a part. I don't know, I liked it because 'cause you're playing a part, and she's
Yeah.
giving him an opportunity to release some steam. that he desperately needs, right? And
And
I love
he did.
that she gives him the cash to do it, and it's, like, thousands of dollars.
So every little act, like, "Show me your pussy," or whatever,
Yeah,
it's
she's like, "If you wanna touch
$200.
me, that costs you," and so he gives her
Yeah.
money.
I did
It
like that.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
it was so hot. And then, like, she uses her silk scarf as a leash and makes her pick up the money off the floor with her mouth. That I
I did
found
not like that.
degrading. I did not like
I
that.
didn't like it. I didn't like that.
But it's also
I
a
skimmed right
part
over
of
it.
yeah, it's part of her. I don't think she needed to do penance, though. There's no reason for her to do penance. I didn't like that she was letting him get off steam because he was upset with her. How about, like, normal communication, like speaking to one another?
I think that's some people's kink, though. It's probably not mine or yours per se, like, at least, like,
Yeah.
reading wise, but so, like,
Yeah.
so and then everything goes to shit. So
Whoa, so fast.
so fast. So Tyler decides, "I'm gonna be with Poppy. This is gonna
Well,
be
he
my
does
last
well,
mass."
first yeah, oh, yeah, that mass. Yeah, he does that
Yeah.
mass, and his sermon is confusing as fuck. For him,
Yeah.
it's, "I'm giving everything up for her." And she is so confused by it because she sees it like she doesn't want him to give up everything for her, and I think she feels a
Yeah.
whole lot of guilt for that
But I
because she
didn't
knows
read
that
it I didn't read it that way. His
No?
homily no, his homily that he gave, I thought he was trying to express, God wants you to love the way that you love, and that sometimes, like, you make mistakes or whatever, but it's not necessarily a mistake. Don't let it confide you. I thought it was, like, his declaration, and she's
Yeah.
sitting in mass the entire time,
But
like,
I think
listening.
she could still hear all of those words, right? And know
Yeah.
their meaning and still feel huge amount of guilt for them.
I didn't clock that. I didn't
'Cause
clock that at all. I was like, "This is the moment. This is gonna be a peaceful ending. He's just gonna resign and quit." He called the bishop right afterwards, and
yeah,
said, "Hey, here's my resignation." He goes out he picks flowers for her, Holly,
I
puts
know.
them in a beautiful, cute little bouquet, goes
Mhm.
to her house, and what does he see?
Her kissing Sterling, and
The
it was
fuck.
awful.
The fuck.
Yeah,
I'm done. No. No.
yeah. No, I know.
What? This poor man so he just loses
But
it.
I don't feel sorry for him. He's had
I
so
didn't.
what? He had so many opportunities to pick her over the
Yeah,
church, and he
yeah.
doesn't.
But he did right then. He had called the bishop. He said
Yeah,
he was
but she
resigning.
doesn't know that.
He was going to tell her.
Yeah, but she also doesn't know that. She's told him many times, "I love you." She's told him, "I can't do this anymore. This is really hard for me. I just
Yeah,
want to be us." And he's, "Yeah, that's it." She's made her feelings very clear, and
yeah.
still he ignores them.
I don't think it's ignoring. I think that he had
He
to
can't confront them
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
because
better.
he's
Yeah,
he's so caught up in this, I need to be a priest so I can do better than the priest before me and live my life to, um, what am I trying to say?
be of service, right?
Not to be of service, but for Lizzie. I'm here
Mhm,
to better the world, make a better place so that what happened to Lizzie doesn't happen again,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
And so he's still living his life as a mission for Lizzie's cause.
Yeah, I still didn't like it. So anyhow,
I mean,
so
I'm
he
not
runs out.
saying what happened was right, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
like, I don't think he handled things right the whole book.
Yeah, I can see that. But I don't know, I became defensive of him, I guess, and I don't really know why. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't pick up on what you picked up on. But I
I
was
felt so
pissed.
sorry for Poppy because I feel like he's playing with her.
I didn't feel like he was playing with her. I felt like he was just in an inner turmoil of, like, it must be terrifying to commit yourself to a parish and a job and a vocation and a marriage to God, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And then have to be like, "Okay, well, that's not working out because I'm in love with Poppy, but what am I gonna do with my life if I choose Poppy?" That's just I love how it's not usually in romance books, it's I'm gonna give up everything for the girl, right? You
Right,
don't
yeah.
contemplate all of the other stuff, like, how am I going to support one another? What is my
But he
job gonna
was
be?
kind of thinking about that, but he didn't talk
Yeah.
to her about it.
No, he was talking to us, that's why I was blindsided when he
I
goes
was
in.
see, and, like, that is, like, one of my biggest irks in this book. I was just like, "You can talk to each other." Like, think
Yeah,
about these things. If you want a future together, think about the steps you can take,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. True. You
I
have a point. True.
and that, like, just made me they haven't been together for very long, first of all.
2 months. 2 months.
2 months, and he's already ready to propose to her. Okay. I mean, fine. There's
With
people
no
like that out
ring.
there.
He shows up with no ring because he has no money.
That's fine. Love is love is love. I
But that's
just
how fast it is. It's just like
yeah. Anyways, so he storms out of there
runs to
and
Jordan.
runs to Jordan
While he's
and
at Jordan, the news breaks because Sterling's an asshole, and
the
he
pictures are released, and the
yes.
bishop calls Jordan. Shit has hit the fan.
Yeah, because the bishop is just has been such a strong supporter of Tyler, kind of like a second father, if you will,
Mhm.
and Tyler is realizing Poppy has not chosen him, has chosen Sterling, and so he's waffling back because Jordan proposes the
See,
question,
that just
"Would
also
you?"
felt like such bullshit because
Right,
she has
Jordan,
told him straight to his face, "I choose you. I love you. I love you. I love you."
but
So
then
many times.
but she's making out with Sterling.
Then you go talk to her. You're about to propose to her. The
Yeah.
moment you see her, like, you don't fight for her at all. You
Yeah,
see her
you
kiss
should
another
have a
man and you don't
confrontation.
fight at all.
Yeah. No,
Mm.
So Jordan poses the question, if Poppy wasn't part of this equation, would you have left the priesthood, right? Would you have left the church? And Tyler's response to him was no. If Poppy had chosen me, right, I would have
Yeah.
left the church. But if she said no to me, I would go back to the church, whatever. So the bishop's on the phone and is like,
What are
"What's
we
going
gonna do?
on?
What do you
What
wanna
are we gonna
do?
do?" He's like, I don't wanna have to fire you," is what the bishop says, "because I don't wanna
Yeah.
make it a thing." And he's like, "I need time to figure this out, whatever." So Jordan says, "Stay in my church and have just a day with God and just
Yeah.
clear your mind. Go to mass, clear your
That's his
mind."
penance too.
Yeah,
He needs to commune with God and figure out
yes.
what he needs to do.
Yeah. And so he comes to the conclusion that he is going to leave the church
Mhm.
and going to figure out his next steps, but Poppy is just not part of that equation because she has moved on. And he had
Oh
gone to
my
her
god.
house and she had
Mhm.
moved out. And there's no text, there's no calling, there's nothing.
Nothing.
Like they both
Radio silence.
split. That's why I thought she was pregnant because I was just like,
Oh.
what's going on? Um, but anyways, he goes
This whole time I
to
was like, "These people are stupid." That's what I thought.
I thought the
I
3rd
didn't
act
think
could have used some
pregnancy
work.
yeah,
Yeah.
I hated this 3rd act. So he goes to Africa and
To Kenya.
volunteers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep, for 7 months.
7 months.
Ugh.
Oh my god. And then comes back and he's a PhD at what was it? Some Ivy League.
Princeton.
Princeton.
Yeah.
He's going to go get his PhD at Princeton. Before he can even start that, he has to find Poppy and give
Mhm.
her back his sister's rosary, which he gave to her, which we didn't talk about, but big significance for him and her.
He just wants to tell her that he forgives her. He wants closure in their relationship, but he has to find her, and the only way that he knows how to find her is to go through Sterling.
This whole fucking "I forgive you" bullshit
I
really
hate it. I
pissed
hate
me
it. I
off.
hate it.
It
I hate it.
really, really pissed me off. I got so mad because I was like, "You know what, Tyler Bell? You also need to give forgiveness for not choosing her until she had to make a choice.
So what happens is he goes to Sterling. Sterling tells him that
Congratulations, you got the girl." And
yeah,
he's like,
and Tyler,
"What the fuck?"
what the fuck? That's not true. And Sterling's like, "She gave me a kiss that day, but she pushed me off afterwards and was like, 'Don't want you part of my life.'" She up and moved to New York and has a dance studio in New York, and that's what she's been doing for the past several months.
Mhm.
Sterling gives, Tyler the address to go there. He keeps calling the studio, he's in front of the studio, nobody's answering, nobody's there. He goes and tries to get, like, a cup of coffee, but lo and behold, he sees 2 spires of a church, and
Across the
so
street. Yep.
across the street, and so he's like, "Well, of course,
He
I'm
has to
just
go
gonna
there.
wander in." Mhm.
And who's
And
in there but
I
Poppy?
I think it's very cliche to have them meet in a church again,
Yeah.
but, like, I understand where she
I
wanted the
get this kind
romance
of
and the
yeah,
poetry.
and to bring it all back together. I see your circles, Sierra Simone. I see it. It's
Uh,
fine.
yeah, but also you're starting a life outside of the church. I don't know, I just
Well, I
anyways.
mean, I think they're always going to be in the I mean, they're starting a life outside of the church, but within it.
Yeah,
Do you know
where he's not a priest.
where
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
not a priest? That's
You get what I'm
I'm
saying.
fine with
Yeah.
that. Yeah. I'm actually fine with them meeting back in the church. But her whole story of the shenanigans that she pulled to basically pull herself out of the picture for him, that she was watching him come across to her and that
Yeah.
she
She staged it.
she staged this whole scene for to kiss Sterling in front of him so that he would not feel like he needed to choose her over the church. And then the pictures came out and she felt so guilty and she thought that he hated her. I hated this whole ending.
I didn't like the apology. I just thought for being so emotionally connected with these 2 people, at least, like, with Tyler, I
Yeah.
just thought it was so stupid. Like,
It
how
was so surface level, it was so, stagey, sceney, actory. It didn't feel true to them.
yeah. But how would like, if you were to rewrite it so if you were to rewrite this ending,
Mhm.
what would you have wanted for those 2?
Oh gosh. I don't know. Have you
Yeah.
thought about this? What would you want?
I don't know either, and maybe that's why it is what it is. Because maybe Sierra the author dealt with this as well. Because I
Yeah.
think that it's just so much time apart. I think
But
maybe if
you know what? He
yeah,
probably needed that time away from her, away from the church to be himself without the title of father, right?
okay. Yeah,
Because he had been so wrapped up in this role and this drive for this mission that he wanted to complete for his sister, right? And then he
yeah,
met Poppy and got so wrapped up in that love, in that bubble, that I think he needed to take a step away to figure out his own thing.
yeah.
And he
But
needed
give
to take a step away to really decide what he wanted to do outside of the church. But could they
then
have
give
done
me
that together?
another
Yeah.
yeah, give me another 20 or 30 pages of how they work on something together,
Yeah.
right? They
Because
do
we
something.
don't see them doing that together. I would've you what I really wanted, I needed a scene with Tyler and his mom and Poppy, quite honestly.
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
we have a lot of scenes with it we have not a lot, but we have a handful of scenes with his mom and his mom crying and missing Lizzie and wanting their sister to be there, part of the whole family dynamic, and she's not. I would have really liked a scene with Poppy there, not taking Lizzie's place, but her seeing her son becoming a whole person, becoming himself, and not
I
wrapped
would
up in a mission for Lizzie.
I would have liked Millie to come in and orchestrate something. Like, she had
Oh,
something
yeah.
yeah, that was, like, unresolved that he had to do and, whatever, and then have them work on something and then
Or
have a
like
little
the
bit because she's brilliant and an engineer and just a mastermind and all this other stuff,
Mhm.
like, I just think that she could have been maybe she's involved in the other books, I don't know. Yeah. There was just a little teeny tiny bit short. So, big question. That being
Mhm.
said, how many
Yeah.
stars did you give this book?
For me, this book is a 4 stars,
Same. Exact same, 4 stars.
and I think the 5th star is because of the ending, and
Same.
because of the general Catholic guilt and uncomfortableness that I have with just religion. in general. That's
No.
just my thing. That's my thing. It has nothing to do with the author. Yeah.
Okay. I would give it 4.5. I just didn't like the ending.
Yeah.
I just did but okay, so then follow-up question.
Uh-huh.
Will you be reading the second 2 in the series, Sinner and Saint?
I am very interested
Okay.
in the next books. Yes. You?
Okay. I don't wanna read them back to back. I think I wanna take a break and
Yeah,
then
I'm gonna take a break because I need to read this is kinda heavy. I
yeah,
need to read something a little fluffier, and then I'll come back to Sinner. I'll circle back.
perfection.
Yeah.
Well, should we announce our next book after the Pain and Pleasure Wheel? Or
So our next book is Done and Dusted by Lila Sage.
perfect. Yep.
Cowboy romance.
Cowboy romance. Have you
I
ever read a cowboy romance?
No, I have not.
Yeah.
I'm checking off a whole lot of boxes here.
I love it. I love it. I'm so excited.
This is
It's
my
either gonna be
first.
so corny that you're gonna hate. This might be a rage read.
Is this gonna be about, like, growing corn? Because LA, I'm not gonna handle it well.
I don't know. I don't
What
know
are
what
they
it's
doing with the
about.
corn, LA? What are they doing with the corn?
I don't know. I meant cheese and I said, oh, it's corny. Oh,
I mean, tomato, tomato at this point.
I can't. Yeah. We're just, I mean, we are just, taking you listeners on a
On a
ride.
journey. On a horseback ride.
Oh, God. Here we go. All right. Well, until next time.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye. Yeehaw.
Oh, my God.
Amen.
Oh,